thanks everyone for being here today. Gillian, I hope that you understand why we've all convened here today for this meeting.
Yes, I do, Angelina.
Yes, so this is our at-risk process that we're undertaking at the moment. Now, we've all had multiple conversations about how your progress is going throughout this placement. I've spoken several times to Kerry. I've spoken with Greg as well. Greg obviously has been in and undertaken some observations and has given you feedback.
Yes, he has.
Yes, and I know that Kerry is constantly observing you and giving you feedback on your progress as well. From all of those conversations, I've identified 3 areas of concern, and these are the things that we're going to focus on in this at-risk meeting, and the things that we're going to identify exactly around how we get you from this point now to this point in the future. So those 3 things that I've identified focus on behaviour management, and these are really more around your explicitness as you're teaching. So using those essential skills, but also using the classroom routines and rules and things that Kerry already has set up and has her learners working by. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is more around Kerry's observations and her feedback to you, and then engaging in those discussions around how you're going. Also too, around the observations, it's about your observations of Kerry as she's teaching, the things that you're noticing, and those conversations that you have with her about those later on. So that's...
Because I probably haven't had conversations with her because I've been a little bit nervous.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
And that would explain sort of, I guess, why we haven't seen a lot of progress in that thinking of how teaching actually works.
Angelina, I just wanted to check with you as a university representative that our expectations, Kerry's as supervising teacher and mine as a site coordinator, that they're reasonable, because we've gone to quite a bit of effort in discussions between the 2 of us to unpack the materials from the university so that we know our expectations are reasonable. And
and I think what I really want to make clear, and this is important from my perspective, Gillian, I want this to be a process that supports you.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sitting here, I'm not trying to, and I know that what we're going to be doing is looking at the areas of concern rather than the areas of commendation, and there are many areas of commendation as well. But when we are using the materials provided by the university with the understanding where you need to be by the end of the placement, I've asked Angelina for this process because my worry is that the movement isn't happening, and I can't see that if we can continue on this present way of going, that you're actually going to meet those by the end. So
well, I do want to meet the expectations.
And we want you to as well.
Yes.
That is the one thing that we all have in common here, and I in our discussions, I really want you to understand that is the perspective that I am bringing to our meeting
Thank
today.
you, Kerry.
Yeah, that's right.
But I also have to be very clear with you about what my concerns are and why I can't see you getting to that stage by the end of the placement. So that's
and
why
of course
I've
what
raised.
you can do to lift that trajectory.
Yeah,
That's
thank
right.
you.
Just to keep going with that, the third and final one, I guess it is a combination of those first 2 concerns around being able to critically reflect based on your own teaching, but also the feedback that you're getting and also what you're observing. So, Kerry, would those 3 concerns, have I expressed those correctly?
Absolutely,
Yes.
and it is difficult to separate out a simple slice of
That's
practice
right.
that this
Yes.
is behaviour
Yes.
management. I'm looking at this as a synthesis,
Right.
and I want to make sure that I'm doing the best to support you to get there, but I also want to know, I need some advice from the university
Yes.
about how to encourage you to think more holistically about your practice rather than I feel that the feedback I'm giving you is about pieces of your practice, whereas really they're influencing the role you are taking as a pre-service teacher in its entirety at the moment, because I need to see, I can only make my judgments on the evidence.
Yes,
So
that's right.
this is multiple evidence of your commitment, of your planning. They are not the central issues here, but planning has to be put into practice, and through my observations, which I've asked Greg to support me as well there, it's not, I need your thinking to actually end up with it being demonstrated for me to see.
That's right.
And that's my understanding
Yes.
of how I will be assessing you in this placement, and in all honesty, I am not seeing it. So that's what I wanted to say.
And in our information and guidelines booklet, I think it's quite clear that Kerry, your supervisor, is making her judgment based on the evidence that is in your folder, but also around the practice
Yes.
that you're demonstrating. So, and that practice can be evidenced in many different ways as well. But I would like to just check with you your perspective of all of this and those concerns that we've outlined. How are you feeling about those? How do you think your progress is going so far?
Thank you, Angelina. Well, I know that I've had some problems with practice. I know that this is probably my strength, is actually doing the documentation. I'm very happy doing that. I probably need to build more confidence and my presence in the classroom, and it's the application, I think, of the theory that I'm learning that I'm probably still struggling a little bit with. Kerry has been very kind and very supportive of me as a student, and I think I do need to think more about the feedback that Kerry is providing for me, to reflect on that a lot more. So I do understand that I need to enact the classroom management strategies and be more proactive in aligning what I observe, not copying Kerry, but enacting the behaviour management strategies that are in place in the classroom, particularly, for example, in relation to routines and rules and so on. And also that I need to have more of a presence in the classroom. So I don't have any, I'm not disagreeing with any of the feedback that I think Kerry has been very fair to me, and so is Mr. Wilkes. So it's up to me now to take a more active role in my trajectory. And yes, I do.
Angelina, you'll notice that Gillian has this reflective approach to her practice, and that's really encouraging from my perspective, but it does have to actually lead somewhere.
That's right.
And
That's
I think
right.
actually documenting specific plans, because as I've listened to her there, I think there are a couple of things, even in terms of the approach to, she's responding to the feedback I'm giving her, but I think what I'd like to see, and what I think is at the crux of all of this, is the connection between her thinking and the children that she's teaching.
Yes.
And that is my part of my reason here. I'm actually concerned for the learning of my students as well, which is what we're all about, Gillian.
That's right.
So
Okay.
that sort of hopefully lays my
Absolutely.
cards
All
on
right.
the table.
Certainly.
In terms of
So I guess the next step in this process, and I guess, Gillian, I probably should have said to you at the very beginning that the at-risk process does not mean that you are going to fail. The at-risk process is very much about supporting you to be able to be successful
Absolutely.
where possible. So that's our ultimate goal. So in saying that, the next step of this process is that now we're going to document these concerns in our plan of action, but we're also going to document specific strategies for you to work on so that you can actually make that progression. And you're going to help me with those strategies. We're going to outline those together.
So will we do that after this meeting? with
Yes, we
Angelina?
can,
Okay.
absolutely. So that what Kerry is saying about making those connections between what is written here and being enacted in the classroom and being able to achieve those learning outcomes with the learners in the class, and also being able to demonstrate those standards that we want you to demonstrate, those strategies will help you to get to that next level. But of course, as you yourself have mentioned, that it's all about you being responsible for
Yes.
your learning. So we're going to expect you to enact what we've got written down.
But please don't forget, I'm there to support
That's
you.
right.
Yes.
Because part of my role is to model those sorts
Yes.
of processes. But please don't be afraid of talking with me about
Okay.
your practice,
Okay.
because I learn from that as well.
Thank you, Kerry.
So I'll leave you with
Okay,
Angelina.
certainly.
Angelina, thank you so
No,
much
thank
for
you.
confirming our judgments, because that also makes us understand that we are on track, that we're in line with your vision of where
Yes.
students in their second year need to be, but it's also an encouraging process that helps us to do our role.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. I do
Thank
appreciate
you. Thank
it.
you for, I guess the important thing is that we were able to raise those concerns and discuss them in a very collegial way, I think. And that all is going to help you, Gillian.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
And
everybody. Yes,
with
thank
your actual support for Gillian, you might also be able to help boost her confidence
Absolutely.
where
Yes.
this isn't about
Yes.
negatives, it's about possibilities for improvement.
That's right.
So please come back to the classroom this afternoon, ready and raring to go with your lesson, and I would love to see you enjoy it and rise, show some confidence.
Okay, thank you.
So good luck, and I'll see you back there after lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.